Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatarishata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudev Ki Jai Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatarishata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatarishata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatarishata Shishmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Oh my god, one second, I just need to shut up. Oh my god, one second, I just need to shut up. There, okay. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatarishata Shishmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityal Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Srila Gaurkishoras Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nityal Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura Ki Jai Nityal Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupa Nugauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shar Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai Nam Acharya Śrīla Haridāsa Ṭhākura Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund Ki Jai Shri Muna Devi Gaṅgā Devi Ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. And today is Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupara Shatarashata Shishmar Bhakti Shri Rup Siddhanti Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Tadiya Shubha Tirobhav Titi Ki Jai Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata Ki Jai Śrīla Vrindavan Das Ṭhākura Ki Jai Śrī Caitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai Grantaraj Śrīmad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Śrī Chaturmasya Vrat Ki Jai Vrat Palan Kari Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Śrī Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Śrī Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Go Vrinda Hari Krishna everybody. Hari Bo, Nuri Hari Prabhu, and Bhavatarani Mataji, and Subhadra Didi, and let's see, and Karuna Didi, and Gaṅgā Mataji, Raseshwari Mataji. Pranams to all of you. So today is the auspicious disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Shri Rupa Siddhanti Goswami Maharaj. Let's see what there is to read about him. I mean, there are really nice things in this special issue of the Rays of the Harmonist for him. But let's see if there's any Harikatha by Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj. I mean, there definitely is. I'll just share my screen 1 second. Okay, let's close this. VC Vani. Shishimar Bhakti Shri Rupa Siddhanti Goswami Maharaj. This is probably just from my beloved masters. Why is it not even? Let's read it from that book, My Beloved Masters. That's better. My Beloved Masters. You can download this for free on vcvani.com, the ebook of this. Where is it? Alright. Shishimad Bhakti Shrirup Siddhanti Gosai Maharaj. The messengers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Vani. We'll just read until, for the next 20 minutes. Once Guru Maharaj, then known as Sri Hayagriva Brahmachari, and Shishimad Bhakti Shrirup Siddhanti Gosai Maharaj, who is then Sri Siddha Sarup Brahmachari, and Shishimad Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Gosai Maharaj, they were all invited to preach at a 3-day spiritual function in Sylhet, East Bengal, now Bangladesh. On the first day in his address, Sri Siddha Sarup Brahmachari made use of very straightforward but harsh and immoderate words while establishing the superiority of the teachings of Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata over the popular Mayavada philosophies prevalent at that time. Can my volume be turned up? Let's see. 1 second. Maybe I'll speak closer into the mic. This is how it usually is, I think, but I don't know. Oh wait, let me check. Yeah, the share mic is running. Is my screen still sharing? Doesn't look like it. That's weird. I'm gonna share my screen again. Okay. All right, so Okay, so he spoke at this big program in Bangladesh. He made use of very straightforward and harsh and immoderate words while establishing the superiority of the teachings of Sri Caitanya-bhāgavata over popular Mayavad philosophies prevalent at that time. He referred to Vivekananda, whose name means one who takes bliss in having intelligence, as Vivekananda, or one who takes bliss in being ignorant. Those names look exactly the same. Anyways, V I guess means vipari, it means opposite, and Viveka I guess means intelligence. So, yeah. Okay, and then he refers to Ramakrishna Paramahansa as Ramahansa, or a large but worthless swan. Upon hearing these epithets, many residents of Sylhet became irritated. That night, leaflets were published and distributed all over town denouncing the Gaudiya Math and demanding the cancellation of the function. He called the Ramakrishna mission the Murgi mission also, right? The chicken mission, because they would feed chicken to the poor. The event faced, and also Ram Chagal, because he referred to, no, I can't remember. Anyways, the event faced such great opposition that the next day, Sri Hayagriva Brahmachari met with the convener, the district judge, who expressed his concerns about safety and advised us to cancel the remaining 2 days of the function just to rule out the possibility of any undesirable incident. Sri Hayagriva Brahmachari assured the judge that the speaker who had used incendiary words the previous night, that speaker would definitely not be speaking again, and that only he and Srila Sridhar Goswami Maharaj would address the audience. The judge replied, "It is on your assurance alone that I will allow the function to continue. I will make all the necessary arrangements for providing increased security, but please be mindful of the content of your Harikatha." The next evening, the venue was filled with antagonistic objectors. Sri Hayagriva Brahmachari was the first to address the crowd, and he began by praising the hospitality of the Sylhet people. After he finished his speech and established his objective, he conceded the podium to Srila Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. During his presentation, Srila Maharaj said, "Our Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Ṭhākura Prabhupada, has taught us that in our preaching, we are delivering the message of Swayam Bhagavan Śrī Caitanya-Mahaprabhu himself. Our only purpose in coming here is to deliver, through fearless yet fair speech, the Vani, the teachings that incessantly flow from Śrīmad Bhagavatam, which is the natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra, as it has and we're distributing this as it has been presented by Śrīman Mahaprabhu and our line of Guru Varga, such as Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and others, who make up our Bhagavat Parampara. We are not here to preach with the apprehension and shyness of a lady hiding her face behind a veil. What to speak of the philosophical doctrines of personalities like Sri Shankaracharya, Jaimini, Patanjali, Kanada, and so on? The ideology manifested by Swayam Bhagavan Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu is unparalleled and vastly superior to the ideologies established by even the previous four acharyas, Sri Ramanuja, Sri Madhvacharya, Sri Nimbaditya, and Sri Vishnu Swami. Through his teachings, he has highlighted the shortcomings of such doctrines and has conclusively defeated all erroneously fabricated philosophies. Therefore, in our presentation of Śrīman Mahaprabhu's ideology, how is it possible that the ideologies of persons like Vivekananda, Ramakrishna Paramahansa, and Bhandarkar will not be contested? Moreover, we are simply messengers of Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Our duty is merely to deliver his teachings. If anyone in this assembly has any objections, he may kindly address them to Śrīman Mahaprabhu, Srila Vyasadeva, or Srila Rupa Goswami. Although we have unflinching faith in their vicharadhara, their line of ideology, we will undoubtedly surrender to any person who can present an ideology superior to that presented by Śrīman Mahaprabhu. But if such a person is not present in this world, what intelligent being would be unwilling to follow or feel uninspired by such a highly auspicious spiritual path as the one described by Śrīman Mahaprabhu and his followers? Śrīmad Bhagavatam has clearly described Shri Krishna as Swayam Bhagavan. Ete Chanksha Kala Pungsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. At Śrīmad Bhagavatam 1.3.28. All these avatars are either plenary portions or portions of plenary portions of the Supreme Person. But Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. Furthermore, Krishna himself has stated in the Bhagavad Gita that he is the ultimate object of surrender in such verses as Sarva Dharmam Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja Aham Tvang Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishyami Ma Shuchaha. It's Bhagavad Gita 1866. Completely abandoning all dharma, take shelter of me alone. I will free you from the reactions of your sins. Do not lament. And man mana bhavamar bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mam evaishyasi satyang te pratijane priyosime. Srimad Bhagavad Gita 1865. Offer your minds to me. Become my devotee. Worship me and offer pranam to me. By this you shall attain me. I swear this truth to you because you are dear to me. Ananyashchintayanto mam ye jana paribhashate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. At Srimad Bhagavad Gita 9.22. For those who are devoid of other desires, who are always absorbed in contemplation of me and who always worship me, I personally carry their necessities and preserve what they presently have. Therefore, what benefit is there in accepting the ideology of Ramakrishna Paramahansa, who advocates the worship of devatas, of demigods? Such worship is averse to Srimad Bhagavatam. And we see this verse in Srimad Bhagavatam 4.31.14. Srimad Bhagavatam, which is firmly established this verse. Through this verse, Yatha toror mulanishechanena tripyanti tatskanda bhujo pashakaha prano paharach chayatendriyanam tataiva sarvarhanam achyutejya. Just as pouring water on the roots of a tree nourishes its trunk, branches, leaves, and sprigs, and as giving food to the stomach nourishes all the senses and bodily limbs, all the demigods are automatically worshipped when one worships Śrī Achyuta Bhagavan. The philosophy of Vivekananda is Jive Prema Kore Jai Jan, She Jan Sheviche Ishvar. Ramakrishna's ideology is that one who has love for living entities actually serves the Supreme Lord. However, we see that his followers kill and eat animals, and we must therefore conclude that in this slogan, the word jiva, as used by Vivekananda, refers only to human beings. But the true meaning of the word jiva refers to all living entities, not just human beings. You should all deeply consider these points. There's no need for us to say anything further. You are all free to make complaints against any imperfections in our methods of delivery, but you must know for certain that the philosophy we have presented remains immaculately pure at all times, without the slightest trace of contamination. After Srila Śrīla Goswami Maharaj concluded his speech, the audience responded with thunderous applause. Indeed, they were truly pleased, and they requested that the organizers extend the function for an additional 15 days. In this way, the preaching of Sriman Mahaprabhu's Vani in the city of Sylhet was a great success. As Sylhet was a city renowned for its good quality lime, the residents, in their appreciation, arranged for a wagon load to be used in the service of whitewashing the walls of Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata, the temples at Yogapit, and other buildings in Sriman Mahaprabhu's Sri Dham Mayapur. Srila Siddhanta Goswami Maharaj was accustomed to speaking in a forthright manner that some may have found unpalatable, but he never presented anything other than Shrotavani, the teachings descending through the Bhagavat Parampara. This was appreciated by the authoritative personality, Srila Śrīla Goswami Maharaj, his senior godbrother, who defended the content of his junior godbrother's speech that day in Sylhet. Okay, I think I'll read this section and then we'll stop. Then we'll start Śrīmad Caitanya-bhāgavata. Proclaiming the truth. Srila Siddhanta Goswami Maharaj was a considerably bold and straightforward in his lectures. He would never hold back when refuting others' mistaken philosophies, nor would he attempt to avoid confrontation by speaking indirectly. Because of his impartial nature, he spoke in the same manner publicly as he did privately. Once, while preaching with Srimad Bhakti Bharati Goswami Maharaj, Srila Maharaj, who was then Sri Siddha Swarup Brahmachari, very forthrightly and unambiguously established the supremacy of pure bhakti over any and all pseudo-devotional religions included within the proverb Jata Mata Tata Pata. Which means there are as many paths to attain God as there are ways to see Him. Jata Mata Tata Pata. And Siddha Swarup Brahmachari, he said that this popular slogan amounts merely to Mishrit Bhakti, or mixed devotion. Needless to say, a number of people were greatly perturbed by this assertion, and they began to oppose the Gaudiya Math. When Sri Kunjabihari Vidyabhushan Prabhu, the secretary of the Gaudiya Math, related this event to Srila Prabhupada said, While the scriptures affirm that Siddha Swarup Prabhu has spoken the truth, the harsh language he used should never come from our mouths. Be that as it may, his words have spread our message to such a large group of people that it would have cost us 1 lakh rupees otherwise. For this service, I will award him a Shri Gaur Ashirvad certificate and grant him the special title Vidya Vagish, which means the best orator of true knowledge. Write that down, Vidya Vagish, and reserve it for him. Yes, every year, and after Gaur Purnima, they would give certificates to different sevaks who did amazing services. And so, like Param Gurudev got the title Kriti Ratna, and we see here Suraswarup Brahmachari got, is it Vidya Vagish? Nice. All right, so it's now getting, I think we should start our reading of Caitanya-bhāgavata now so it doesn't get too late. But yeah, if you'd like to read more about Srila Bhakti Swarup Siddhanta Goswami Maharaj, you can go to vcvani.com and you'll see the article there. And also, there's this issue of Raise the Harmonist. Let me just find it so you can, just so you know which one it is. That one is, there's this section in there called Selected Nectarian Instructions, and it is so good. And also his glorification of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, a very rasik explanation, and also my Gurudev's glorification of him. It's all in that issue of Raise the Harmonist. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Let me see, which issue is it? Can't remember which issue it was. Was it this one? Let's see. Yes, it's this one. Okay, so if you go to Raise to the Harmonist, number 16, Kartik 2006, you'll be able to find it. This one, with Mother Yashoda and Krishna. Actually, we could read a couple of his instructions. Yeah, see, there's this glorification by my Gurudev. I should have read that also. Anyways. Let's just read a couple of his selected nectarian instructions. Obtaining the shelter of the lotus feet of a genuine guru is without a doubt a matter of both great fortune and great dilemma for the Baddha Jiva. If, however, a fortunate soul has a sincere longing and ardency to attain a true guru, he does so by the mercy of Krishna. The Baddha Jiva is extremely insignificant. It is impossible for him to realize the magnitude of Sri Guru. I'm just going to skip around. A genuine disciple is just as rare as a genuine guru. I love this one. This one's such an important instruction. The words of pure devotees are contrary to our sense gratification. No matter how pitiless and harsh their words may seem, if we can sincerely submit to them with our body, mind, and words, our eternal welfare is assured. I like this one. One cannot charm Sri Gurudev with a display of external emotions, gestures, and formalities. If one becomes a disciple without sincerely surrendering oneself at Sri Gurudev's lotus feet, it is like trying to cheat a blacksmith regarding iron, and one will be bound to cheat his own welfare. And then there's a bunch of quotes about at the time of Sri Gurudev's disappearance. One can recognize the actual identity of his disciples. One can then understand who has approached Sri Gurudev with what intention. There's a bunch of, most of these quotes are on that topic, I think, in these next few pages. Then he goes through Rupa Shiksha. Yeah, anyways, they're all very sobering quotes here, if anybody wants to read. I like this one. This one's really nice. Shri Bhagavan, as Antaryami, resides in the hearts of all. Since pure devotees are the antaryami of even Bhagavan, they can serve him according to his internal desires and thus please him. Thus they are known as Bhagavat Prishta. Even after becoming the genuine disciple of such a person, one must understand the inner desire of Sri Gurudev and serve him accordingly. Merely maintaining the arrogance that one has received the mercy of Shuddha Bhaktas does not actually award that mercy or position of being their disciple. Okay. Just looking at the chat. Oh, Haribo. Wait, who's that? Oh, Hare Krishna Shubhananda Prabhu. And Kishore Krishna, Haribo. All right, so let's start Chaitanya Bhagavata. It's 7:30 now. So, Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Ajanulambita Bhujo Kanakavadato Sankirtanaikapitaro Kamalaya Vishvambaro Dvijavaro Yugadharmapalo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro Namastrikala Satyaya Jagannatha Sutaya Cha Sabhrityaya Saputraya Sakalatrayate Namaha Avatirno Sakarunyo Parichinno Sarishvaro Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanando Dvau Bhrataro Bhaje Sajayati Vishuddha Vikrama Kanakabha Kamalaya Tekshana Varajanu Vilambi Shadbhujo Bahudha Bhakti Rasa Bhinartaka Jayati Jayati Deva Krishna Chaitanya Chandra Jayati Jayati Kirtis Tasya Nitya Pavitra Jayati Jayati Bhrityas Tasya Vishvesha Murter Jayati Jayati Nrityam Tasya Sarva Priyanam Adya Shri Caitanya Priya Goshtir Charane Ashisha Prakare Mor Danda Paraname Tabe Vando Shri Krishna Chaitanya Maheshwar Navadvipe Avatar Nama Vishwambhar Tavai Vasmi Najivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Devi Tvang Nayamam Charanantikam Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshai Kshiptastakama Ditaranga Madhe Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
What about the glories of Chaitanya-bhāgavata?
Yeah, I mean, we're just running short on time because I wanted to get through 5,500 words.
Gotcha.
Let's just read the last verse. Okay. Sahaje vichitra madhur chaitanya vihar vrindavana dasamukhe amriter dhar. By nature, all the activities of Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu are very wonderful and sweet. And when they are described by Śrīla Ṭhākura, they become like a shower of nectar. Jai Śrīla Ṭhākura ki jai, Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata ki jai, Śrī Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki jai. The Gaudiya Bhashya of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada ki jai. All right. So yesterday we read. Okay. So Haridāsa Ṭhākura, he arrived in Navadvip. First, it mentioned how the degraded condition of the people in Navadvip, how materialistic they were, and the distress of the devotees. And at that time, Haridāsa Ṭhākura arrived in Navadvip. He was the personification of pure devotion for Lord Vishnu. Now please hear the topics of Śrīla Haridāsa Ṭhākura, for by hearing this narration, one certainly attains Krishna. Haridāsa Ṭhākura appeared in the village of Burana, and as a result, that province is filled with kirtan even today. After residing there for some time, he came to the bank of the Gaṅgā at Phulia, near Shantipur. Upon obtaining Haridasa's association, Advaita Acharya roared in unlimited ecstasy. Similarly, in the association of Advaita Prabhu, Haridāsa Ṭhākura floated in the waves of the ocean of Krishna consciousness. Haridāsa would continually wander on the bank of the Gaṅgā while loudly chanting the names of Krishna. Haridāsa was most renounced in the matter of material enjoyment, and his mouth was always beautified with the chanting of Lord Krishna's names. He did not give up the chanting of the names of Govinda for even a moment, and as a result, he was constantly manifesting various ecstatic symptoms. Sometimes he danced alone, and sometimes he roared like a mad lion. Sometimes he cried loudly, and sometimes he laughed loudly. Sometimes he roared loudly, and sometimes he fell to the ground unconscious. Sometimes he would utter some unnatural sounds, for which he would later give some profound meaning. He manifested all the different ecstatic symptoms like crying, hairs standing on end, laughing, losing consciousness, and perspiring. As soon as Haridāsa began to dance, these symptoms would all manifest in his body. Haridasa's entire body became wet as tears of love flowed from his eyes. Even staunch atheists would offer him respect. Even Brahma and Shiva were satisfied to see the wonderful manifestation of Haridasa's hair standing on end. Haridāsa is Brahma. That's funny. Okay. All the Brahmanas of Phulia were overwhelmed upon seeing Haridāsa. While Haridāsa Prabhu resided in Phulia, everyone there developed great faith in him. Haridāsa would regularly take bath in the Gaṅgā and then loudly chant the names of Lord Hari while wandering about. The Qazi went to the king of Bengal and complained about Haridāsa. Haridāsa is a Muslim, but he follows the religion of the Hindus. Please call him and consider his case. Hearing the words of the sinful Qazi, the sinful king immediately called for Haridāsa. By the mercy of Krishna, Śrī Haridāsa was not even afraid of death personified. He wasn't even afraid of Jamaharaj. Kal. He wasn't afraid of Kal. So what to speak of the Muslim rulers? Chanting the name of Krishna, he immediately went to see the king. Hearing about Haridasa's departure to see the king, pious persons felt morose in the midst of their happiness. When the respectable persons in prison heard, so they were happy that they got to have darshan of Haridāsa Ṭhākura, but they were distressed that he was going to the king and he would be punished. When the respectable persons in prison heard that Haridāsa had come to see the king, they became pleased at heart. Haridāsa is a great Vaishnav. By seeing him, our distress due to imprisonment will be vanquished. The prisoners tactfully persuaded the guards to let them see Haridāsa without disturbance. When Haridāsa Ṭhākura came there and saw the prisoners, he glanced mercifully upon them. Seeing the lotus feet of Haridāsa Ṭhākura, all the prisoners offered obeisances to him. Haridasa's hands reached to his knees, his eyes were like lotus petals, and his enchanting moon-like face was beyond compare. As everyone devoutly offered obeisances to him, ecstatic devotional symptoms manifest in their bodies. When Haridāsa saw the prisoners' devotion, he mercifully smiled at them. With a curious smile, Haridāsa gave them an ambiguous blessing. He said, "Stay there. Stay as you are now. Stay as you are. Stay in this situation that you are in now." Unable to understand the equivocal words, the prisoners felt morose. What? Stay here in prison forever? What kind of blessing is that? Shortly after, however, Haridāsa mercifully explained the meaning of his mysterious blessing. You have not understood the meaning of the blessings I gave, and therefore you are lamenting. I never award inauspicious benedictions. Carefully try to understand as I explain. As your minds are presently fixed on Krishna, let them stay that way forever. Now you can all together constantly chant the names of Krishna and think of Krishna. Here you have no envy or trouble from others, so you can humbly chant and think of Krishna. Otherwise, if you again return to material enjoyment, then by bad association, you'll forget everything about Krishna. One cannot achieve love for Krishna as long as he is engaged in sense gratification. You should know for certain that Krishna is very far away from such persons. The mind that is absorbed in material enjoyment is a great disturbance. Attachment for wife and children are the binding ropes of illusion that lead one to death. If by providence a fortunate person achieves the association of a devotee, he gives up his attachment for material enjoyment and worships Krishna. In conclusion, the nature of material enjoyment is that one makes the same mistake again and again. Therefore, I did not mean to say stay there in prison, but rather stay free from thoughts of material enjoyment and always chant the name of Hari. Do not even slightly lament that I gave you this blessing in an ambiguous way. I glance mercifully on all living entities. May you all have firm devotion for Lord Krishna. Do not worry. I guarantee that within 2 or 3 days you will be freed. Whether you are a householder or a renunciate, whatever you are, do not forget these instructions at any cost. After offering the prisoners his best wishes, Haridāsa went before the king. When the king saw Haridāsa's brilliant effulgence, he respectfully offered him a seat. The king personally inquired, "My dear brother, why do you have such a mentality? By good fortune, you have been born a Muslim. So why do you follow the religious practices of the Hindus? We don't even eat rice that's been touched by Hindus. So why are you degrading yourself? You have been born in a high family. You are transgressing your caste and religion to follow the religion of others. How will you attain salvation? Whatever sinful activities you have unknowingly performed can be cleared by uttering kalma." After hearing the king, who was illusioned by Maya, Haridāsa simply laughed and said, "How wonderfully the illusory energy acts." He then sweetly said to the king, "Listen, dear sir, the Supreme Lord of all is one without a second. The Hindus and Muslims differentiate the Lord only by name, but in spiritual vision, the Lord is one. This is confirmed in the Puranas and the Quran. The pure, eternal, non-dual, inexhaustible Lord sits in the heart of everyone. That Lord induces everyone to work in a particular way, and everyone in the entire world acts accordingly. The names and qualities of that Lord are chanted by everyone according to their respective scriptural injunctions. The Supreme Lord accepts the devotion of everyone. But if anyone is envious of his children, then the Lord retaliates. Therefore, I am only acting under the inspiration of the Supreme Lord. By his own desire, a Hindu Brahmin may also become a Muslim. What can the Hindus do? That is his karma. If one is already dead, then what is the use of killing him? Dear sir, now you can judge. If I am at fault, then you may punish me." Hearing Haridāsa's conclusive statements, the Muslims were all satisfied. Shunya santosh hoilo, sakal javan. Only the sinful Qazi, he instigated the king, saying, "Punish him!" this miscreant will simply create other miscreants, and he'll bring a bad name to the Muslim community. Therefore, punish him in an exemplary way, or at least make him recite the confession from the Quran. The king again requested Haridāsa, "Oh brother, just recite the confession from the Quran and you'll have nothing to worry about. Otherwise, the sinful qazis will punish you, and you'll be forced to recite the Quran anyway. In this way, you'll be humiliated." Haridāsa said, "One cannot do anything other than what the Supreme Lord desires. Know for certain that the Lord awards the results of one's offenses." Wait, what point did we read up to yesterday? I'm just checking really quick. Oh, whoa, sorry. I've been going way past where we read up to. Oh my God, sorry. We read up to 188. Oh, not way past, just a little bit. Okay, so let's read the Bengali from this point on. Oh, and I'm just seeing Rasay Shri Mataji and Sudevi Didi. Dandavat pranams. Oh, and Champak Didi. I didn't see you there. Haribol. Okay. E dushta aro dushta koribe anek javana kulete amahima anibek. So the Qazi said, this miscreant will simply create other miscreants, and he'll bring a bad name to the Muslim community. Eteke ihar shasti koro bhalo mate naheba apana shastra baluka mukhete. Then the Qazi said to the king, therefore punish him in an exemplary way, or at least make him recite the confession from the Quran. The Gaudiya Bhashya by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. The atheist Qazi instigated the king by complaining against Haridāsa Ṭhākura as follows. He said, the example of following Hindu principles that Haridāsa is setting will certainly bring infamy to the Muslim community. And in the future, many Muslims will bring further defamation and disrepute to the Muslim religion by following him. Therefore, you should severely punish him as a warning to others so that this may not happen. Otherwise, Haridāsa should personally repent and beg forgiveness for his actions. Then only can he be excused from punishment. Puna bole muluker pati are bhai, apnar shastra bolo tabe chinta nai. Anyatha koribe shasti sab kaji gane, boliba o pache ar laghu hoi bakene. The king again requested Haridāsa, oh brother, just recite the confession from the Quran and you'll have nothing to worry about. Otherwise, the sinful qazis will punish you and you'll be forced to recite the Quran anyway. In this way, you'll be humiliated. Gaudiya Bhashya. The king said to Haridāsa, if you give up the behavior of persons who are opposed to our religious principles and follow the Muslim literatures and behavior, then there's no need to fear or worry. Otherwise, the Qazi and his men will severely punish you. Even now, I am giving you a warning. Why should you diminish your prestige by unnecessarily being punished later on? Haridāsa bolenje Korana Ishware taha boy ar keho korite na pare. Haridāsa said, one cannot do anything other than what the Supreme Lord desires. Gaudiya Bhashya. Hearing the king's words, Haridāsa fearlessly replied, whatever the Supreme Lord wills, that alone will happen. Apart from that, no one can do anything. Aparada anurupa jar je phal, Ishware she kore iha jani ho keval. Know for certain that the Lord awards the results of one's offenses. Gaudiya Bhashya. The Supreme Lord alone is the bestower of the living entities' fruits of action. The sense of being the doer that living entities who are bewildered by false ego attribute to themselves in the course of their activities is only due to false pride. Only the supreme will of the Lord yields fruits. Although the living entities are instruments, the supreme will of the Lord is most powerful. Here's the famous verse, quoted all the time. Khanda khanda hoy deha jai jadi pran, tabo ami vadane na chari hari naam. Even if my body is cut into pieces and I will give up my life, I will never give up chanting the Lord's holy name. I will never give up chanting the Lord's holy name. Gaudiya Bhashya. Haridāsa Ṭhākura is saying, this material body, which is received from the mother and father, is not permanent. The life that is averse to the service of Krishna and which is presently absorbed in material happiness is also perishable or unchangeable. Is also perishable or changeable. But the holy names of the Supreme Lord and the Lord Himself are not two separate objects. Spiritual names are not like the names of material objects that are invented by human beings within the time factor. The spiritual name and the possessor of the name are one. Nam and Nami are one. Therefore, I can never give up chanting the holy names and repose my faith in my gross and subtle bodies. The constitutional position of a living entity is that he is the eternal servant of Krishna. In other words, every living entity is a Vaishnava. The Vaishnavas have no other activities than chanting the holy names of Sri Hari. The only duty of both the practitioner and the perfected being is to chant the holy names of the Lord. I cannot give this up to follow man-made social behavior. Even if the result is that society and its administrators torture me as much as they want, I am prepared to tolerate it all with a smiling face. I will never give up the eternal service of Hari to run after temporary material happiness. I have no other activity than congregationally chanting the spiritual names of Krishna that I have received through disciplic succession. Both the body and the mind are distinct from I, the owner of the body, because I, in quotation marks, am eternal, while the body and mind are temporary. Shuniya tahana vakya muluker pati, jigyasilo ebe ki koriba iha prati. Here Haridāsa's statement, the king to ask the Qazi, now what will you do with him? Qazi bole balisho bajare bedi mari, prana loho ar kichu vichara na kori. The Qazi replied, he should be beaten in the 22 marketplaces. Take his life in this way. That is my opinion. Gaudiya Bhashya. In the end, the atheist proposed to the king as follows. Let Haridāsa be beaten in each of the 22 marketplaces within Ambua Muluka. Then he will die. This is the proper punishment for the sin he has incurred by accepting the behavior of the Hindus and chanting the names of the Hindus' god. Baisha bajare mari leho jadi jiye, tabe jani gyani shab sacha kata kohe. If he survives being beaten in 22 marketplaces, then we'll understand he's actually knowledgeable and his words are true. Gaudiya Bhashya. If in spite being beaten in 22 marketplaces, Haridāsa remains alive, then we will know that he is truthful and non-duplicitous. And if he dies, then his punishment was proper. Pai ko shokale daki tarja kori kohe, e mata mari bit jeno prana nahi rahe. The Qazi then called the guards and sternly ordered them, beat him in such a way that he will die. Gaudiya Bhashya. The word paika, derived from the word padatika, means guards or servants. The servant guards were ordered to severely beat Haridāsa, more than needed to make his life air leave the body. Javana hoya je hinduani kore, prananta hoile sheshe e papa hoite tore. If a Muslim who follows the Hindu religion is killed, then he'll be delivered from that sin. Gaudiya Bhashya. The death sentence is proper punishment for Muslims who give up their religion and follow the religion and behavior of the infidel Hindus. There is no sin more grave than for a non-Hindu to accept the Hindu religion. Death is the only atonement for such a sin. Papir vachane she papi agya dilo, tushtagane asi Haridāsa re dhorilo. Instigated by the words of the sinful Qazi, the sinful king gave his order, and the miscreant guards arrested Haridāsa. Gaudiya Bhashya. The sins of those who envy the Vaishnavas are understood to have fully matured. Since the atheist Qazi caused mischief to Haridāsa Ṭhākura, both he and the king were extremely sinful. The guards who arrested Haridāsa Ṭhākura on the order of their sinful masters were also affected by sinful reactions. Bajare bajare sab bedi dushta gane mare she nirjiva kori mahakrodha mane. The miscreant guards thereafter took Haridāsa from the market. They took Haridāsa from market to market and mercilessly beat him. Krishna Krishna smarana koren Haridāsa, namanande deha dukha na hoy prakash. Haridāsa simply remembered the name of Krishna, and on account of that ecstatic remembrance, he felt no pain. Dekhi Haridāsa dehe atyanta prahar, sujana shakal dukha bhaven apar. The pious people were greatly distressed to see the excessive beating of Haridāsa. Gaudiya Bhashya. Hearing and seeing the severe beating and unjustified oppression of Thakur Haridāsa, the saintly persons became extremely distressed. Some of them openly declared, "By oppressing the Vaishnavas in this way, great inauspiciousness will soon fall on this kingdom. Simply as a result of torturing the Vaishnavas, the world faces various miseries like famine, drought, plague, and war." Keho bole uchana hoibe sarva rajya, she nimitte sujanere kore heno karja. Someone said, "The entire kingdom will be destroyed because they're torturing such a saintly person." Raja ujirere keho shape krodha mane, mara mari korite o uthe kona jane. Someone angrily cursed the king and the Qazi, and someone else was prepared to fight them. Wow, brave people. Gaudiya Bhashya. As a result of the Muslims' misbehavior toward Haridāsa Ṭhākura, the sadhus became most angry and displeased at heart. Some of them mentally cursed the king and his minister, and some sowed the seed of discontent in order to bring about a revolution in the state. Keho giya javana ganer paye dhore, kichu dibo alpa kori maraho uhare. Another person fell at the feet of the Muslims and said, "I'll give you some money if you do not beat him so hard." Gaudiya Bhashya. Some of them fell at the feet of the Muslims who were mercilessly beating Haridāsa, and they begged their mercy to spare his life. And some of them tried to stop the beating with bribes. Tatapi daya nahi janme papi gane, bajare bajare mare mahakrodha mane. Nevertheless, the sinful guards showed no mercy, and they continued angrily beating Haridāsa from market to market. Krishner prasade Haridāser sharire, alpa dukho nahi janme eteka prahare. By the mercy of Krishna, Haridāsa felt no pain whatsoever in spite of such heavy beating. Asur prahare jeno pralada vigrahe, kon dukha na janilo sarva shastre kohe. The scriptures explain that Prahlad felt no pain when he was mercilessly beaten by the demons. Gaudiya Bhashya. Just as Hiranyakashipu tortured his Mahabhagavat son, Prahlad, in various ways, see Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.33-53 and 7.8 verses 1 to 13, the sinful Muslims also began to torture Haridāsa Ṭhākura in various ways. But, like Bhaktaraj Prahlad, he did not feel a tinge of misery. The quality of tolerance like this is natural for the Mahabhagavats. They are so busy and constantly serving the Supreme Lord that incidents of the external worlds like torture cannot give them any anxiety. That is why Sri Gaurasundar has stated in his Sri Shikshashtak that only one who is more tolerant than a tree is able to glorify the topics of Krishna, not others. If a practitioner is intolerant, then he will not be able to glorify Hari, because we have seen by innumerable cases in this world that persons who are averse to the Supreme Lord have unfairly and unnecessarily attacked the all-auspicious, honest preacher engaged in chanting the names of Hari, and have tried to close his mouth, which is engaged in glorifying Hari. The sinful society that is intoxicated by pride related with family, caste, wealth, and material education always tries to completely stop glorification of Hari, which is the only absolute truth. Even on the dishonest pretext of duplicitously joining the Sankirtan party in name, they silently oppose chanting the holy names, which are Satya Vastu, the absolute truth. E mata javaner ashisha prahare, dukha na janmaye Haridāsa Ṭhākura. In the same way, Haridas felt no pain as he was mercilessly beaten by the Muslims. Haridāsa smarane o e dukkha sarvatha, chinde she khane Haridaser ki katha. What to speak of Haridas himself? Even one who remembers his activities is immediately relieved of all material miseries. So, yeah, Haridas is what to speak of Haridas not experiencing any miseries, even if those who remember Haridas don't experience any material miseries. They're relieved of all material miseries. Gaudiya Bhashya. What to speak of Haridas feeling distress due to the severe torture? All the distress of even a person who remembers this incomparable tolerance of Haridas will also be completely destroyed. All the distress of that person will be completely destroyed. Sabe je shakal papi gana tare mare, tar lagi dukkha matra bhaben antare. Rather, Haridas felt sorry for the sinful guards who were engaged in beating him, and he prayed. Gaudiya Bhashya. For the benefit and deliverance of those sinful offenders who defy the Bhagavat Vaishnavas, the saintly persons consider them candidates for their mercy and feel concerned within their hearts. Such characteristics are also seen in the lives of Jesus Christ and Prophet Muhammad. Eshab jivere Krishna koroho prasad, mor drohe nahu e sabar aparad. O Krishna, be merciful on these living entities. Forgive their offense of torturing me. Gaudiya Bhashya. If one defies the devotees of the Lord, the Supreme Lord becomes greatly displeased. Realizing that the Supreme Lord would be greatly displeased by torture inflicted on him by the sinful Muslims, Thakur Haridas prayed at the lotus feet of the Lord for their benefits. The devotees of the Lord never pray. Let the minds of the living entities always remain distracted from the service of the lotus feet of Krishna, as this brings about their ruination. The Vaishnav Thakurs, who are compassionate to all living entities, never become the cause of others' inauspiciousness. E mata papigan nagare nagare prahara koroe Haridāsa Ṭhākura re. In this way, the sinful guards beat Haridāsa Ṭhākura in the various marketplaces. Drida kori mare tara prana loi bare manasmriti nahi Haridāser prahare. They beat him severely in order to kill him, but Haridāsa was not even disturbed by their beating. Gaudiya Bhashya. Being bewildered by waves of thoughts about the external world, the ordinary conditioned souls accept their own flickering minds as the director of all their activities. But since the devotees of the Lord are constantly engaged in the service of Hari, they do not engage their minds in enjoying external material objects. Rather, they do not retain any memory of any material incident or object. In other words, they have completely forgotten all false bodily identification. It is stated, Krishna name prita jare udasina nirdosha Krishna name prita jare udasina nirdoshayanandamay. That's from the song Kavi Mui Vaishnava Chinibo Hari Hari. The devotees of the Lord are attached to the holy names of Krishna, being indifferent to material objects, being faultless and always joyful, the pure Vaishnava. Vismita hoya bhabe shakala javane manusher pran ki rahaye e marane. The Muslims were astonished to see this, and they thought, can a human being survive after such a beating? Dui tin bajare mari le loka more, baisha bajare mari laya je ihare. If we beat someone in 2 or 3 marketplaces, they die. But we've beaten him in 22 marketplaces. More o na aro deki hase kone kone. E purusha pir ba sabe bhabe mane. They all thought, he has not died, and moreover, we see that he is smiling. Is he a powerful saint? Gaudiya Bhashya. The word pir, a Farsi word, refers to a Mohammedan saintly person who knows God, or it refers to a widely respected great personality with extraordinary powers. Javana shakal bole ohe Haridāsa Toma hoite ama sabar hoi beknash. The Muslims then said, O Haridāsa, we'll be killed because of you. Gaudiya Bhashya. The Muslim servants who had severely beaten Haridāsa said to him, if we cannot somehow or other beat you to death, our masters will be very angry with us. Then they will kill us out of anger. Eto prahari o prana na jai tomar, kaji prana loibek ama sabakar. Although we've beaten you so much, you're still alive. Therefore, the Qazi will kill us. Hasiya bolen Haridāsa mahashay, ami jile toma sabar manda jadi hoy. Tabe ami mori e dekho vidyaman, e to bole abishta hoila kori dhyan. Haridāsa smiled and said, if my remaining alive creates a problem for you, then I will give up my body right now. After saying this, Haridāsa entered into deep meditation on Krishna. Gaudiya Bhashya. Haridāsa replied, though I have been severely beaten by you, if my remaining alive causes any harm for you, I can immediately give up my body to check this inauspiciousness. After speaking in this way, Haridāsa entered into samadhi by meditating on the Supreme Lord within his heart, saturated with pure goodness, and thus enacted the pastime of dying. Due to being in deep samadhi on the Supreme Lord, his inhaling and exhaling could not be properly perceived. Sarva Shakti Samanvita Prabhu Haridas Hoilen Achishta Kota O Nahi Shvas. Haridas, who was endowed with all mystic powers, then became motionless, and his breathing stopped. Dekhiya javanagan vismita hoilo mulaka patir dware loya felailo. Saying this, the Muslims were struck with wonder, and they took the lifeless body of Haridas before the king. Mati deho niya bole muluker pati kaji kohe tobe to paibe bhalo gati. The king ordered them, bury him. But the Qazi countered. But then the Qazi countered, then he'll achieve a higher destination. Gaudiya Bhashya. The phrase mati deha means to lay underground or set samadhi, or to bury. The atheist Qazi said, Haridas has taken birth in a high-class Muslim family, so we should not bury him, because then he would attain a higher destination. It is the religious belief of the Muslims that if one buries a dead body, then the owner of the body attains a superior destination. Therefore, if the dead-like body of Haridāsa Ṭhākura is thrown in the Gaṅgā rather than buried, it will be a proper punishment for his sinful activities of accepting Hindu religion and chanting the names of the Hindu's god, and he will suffer miseries forever. Boro hoy jeno korile kanicha karma, ataev ihare jujai heno dharma. He was already born in a good Muslim family, but he engaged in the degraded Hindu practices. Therefore, he does not deserve a higher destination. Mati dile paraloke hoibe ko bhalo, gange phelo jeno dukha pai chirakala. If we bury him, he will certainly attain a better destination in his next life. Better throw him in the Gaṅgā so that he'll suffer forever. Kajir vachane sab dhoriya javane Gange phelaite tobe sobe tole giyatane. Should be Gaṅgā, right? I wonder if that's a mistake in the transliteration. Following the Qazi's instructions, the guards took Haridasa's body to throw in the Gaṅgā. Gaṅgā nite tole jadi javana shakal boshilen Haridasa hoya nishchal. As the Muslims were about to throw his body in the Gaṅgā, Haridas sat there immovable. Dhyananande boshila Ṭhākura Haridas Vishwambhar dehe asi hoilo paraka. As Haridas sat there in ecstatic meditation, Lord Vishwambhar entered his body. Vishwambhar adhishtan hoilo sharire kar shakti ache Haridasa nadi bare. Who had the power to move Haridasa's body when it had become the abode of Lord Vishwambhar? Mahabalavanta shab chaturdike thele Mahastamba prai prabhu achen nishchale. As the strongest Muslims tried to push Haridas, they found he was as immovable as a stone pillar. Krishnananda Sudha Sindhu Madhye Haridas Magna hoy achen bahya nahi parakash. Haridas remained absorbed in the nectarian ocean of love for Krishna and had no external feelings. Gaudiya Bhashya. The phrase Krishnananda Sudha Sindhu refers to the samadhi of ecstatic love for Krishna. The word bahya means external consciousness. Kiva antarikshe kiva prithivite Gaṅgā Na janin Haridāsa achen kotai. He did not even know whether he was in the sky, on the land, or in the waters of the Gaṅgā. Prahlader jeheno smarana Krishna bhakti, Shemata Haridāsa Ṭhākurer shakti. Haridas had the same ability as Prahlad Maharaj to remain fixed in remembrance of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Gaudiya Bhashya. Regarding the devotional service of Prahlad Maharaj, Narad Muni narrates his characteristics to Yudhishthira Maharaj in the following verses of Śrīmad Bhagavatam 7:436, 38, and 41. Who could list the innumerable transcendental qualities of Prahlad Maharaj? He had unflinching faith in Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. And he had unalloyed devotion to him. Prahlad's attachment to Lord Krishna was natural because of his previous devotional service. Although his good qualities cannot be enumerated, they prove that he was a great soul, he was a Mahatma. Prahlad Maharaj was always absorbed in thought of Krishna. Thus, being always embraced by the Lord, he did not know how his bodily necessities, such as sitting, walking, eating, lying down, drinking, and talking, were ever being automatically performed. Sometimes, feeling the touch of the Lord's lotus hands, he became spiritually jubilant and remained silent, his hairs standing on end, and tears gliding down from his half-closed eyes because of his love for the Lord. The Śrīmad Bhagavatam 7:9, verses 6-7 further states, by the touch of Lord Nrsingadev's hand on Prahlad Maharaj's head, Prahlad was completely freed of all material contaminations and desires, as if he had been thoroughly cleansed. Therefore, he at once became transcendentally situated, and all the symptoms of ecstasy became manifest in his body. His heart filled with love, and his eyes with tears, and thus he was able to completely capture the lotus feet of the Lord within the core of his heart. Prahlad Maharaj fixed his mind and sight upon Lord Nrsingadev with full attention in complete trance. Haridase e sab kichu chitra nahe, nirabadi gaura chandra jahana hridaye. This is not at all astonishing for Haridas, for Lord Gaurachandra constantly resides in his heart. Rakshaser bandhane jeheno hanuman, apane loila kori brahmar saman. E mata Haridāsa javana prahar, jagater shiksha lagi korila shikar. While fighting with the demons, Hanuman respectfully welcomed the Brahmastra weapon released by Indrajit. Similarly, Haridas Thakur accepted the beating of the Muslims in order to teach the world. Gaudiya Bhashya. Just as Hanuman protected the prestige of the Brahmastra weapon released by Indrajit, the son of Ravan, the king of the demons, by falling under its influence during the conquest of Lanka, so just as Hanuman protected the prestige of the Brahmastra weapon released by Indrajit by falling under its influence during the conquest of Lanka, see Ramayana Sundarakand chapter 48 verses 36-45. So in the same way, Haridas accepted the cruel, severe beating of the Muslims in order to set the example and teach the highest ideal of tolerance to the world. Ashesha durgati hoy jadi jai pran, tatapi vadanena charibo harinam. Even if I experience unlimited mercy and die, I will never give up chanting the Lord's holy name. Gaudiya Bhashya. This is the teaching referred to in the previous verse. Let the sense enjoyers, fruitive workers, and Mayavadis, who are all opposed to devotional service, behave inimically towards the devotees. Yet the devotees never give up chanting the holy names of the Lord. Anyata Govinda heno rakshaka thakite kar shakti ache Haridasere langhite. Otherwise, since Haridas was personally protected by Govinda, how could anyone harm him? Gaudiya Bhashya. The word anyata, or otherwise, refers to a situation other than if Haridas Thakur. The word anyata or otherwise refers to a situation other than if Haridas Thakur Haridas had not exhibited the highest ideal of incomparable tolerance, or had not endeavored to teach the people of the world by saying, "Even if I experience unlimited misery and die, I will never give up chanting the Lord's holy name." Lord Govinda alone is the maintainer of the entire universe. No one can oppose, harm, torture, oppress, or display their might on his unalloyed topmost devotee Haridas. No atheist has the authority to transgress Haridas. Haridasa smarane o e dukkha sarvata khandeshe khane Haridaser ki katha. What to speak of Haridas himself? Even one who remembers his activities is immediately relieved of all material miseries. Satya Satya Haridas Jagat Ishvar Chaitanya Chandrer Maha Mukhya Anuchar. Haridas, who had the power to control the universe, was certainly one of the topmost devotees of Śrī Caitanya. Gaudiya Bhashya. Another reading for Jagat Ishvar, or the Lord of the Universe, is Purva Vipravar, or the already qualified best Brahman. Actually, Thakur Haridas was already the crest jewel amongst the best of the Brahmanas. Although the materialists see that he was born in a Muslim family, he was the greatest Vaishnava, the greatest servant of the Lord. He was most sober and endowed with all Brahminical qualifications from time immemorial. Only those who constantly serve the Supreme Lord are decorated with the eternal Brahminical qualifications from time immemorial. Some people compose imitation literatures in which they claim that Haridas Thakur was born in a seminal Brahmin family, and thereby they attribute on him insignificant mundane social considerations born from their own ignorance. Such imaginary truth is always contrary to historical facts. The phrase Jagat Ishwar may also be an adjective for Chaitanya Chandra, or it may have been used to indicate the former position of Haridas as Lord Brahma. Any Mahabhagavat who controls the 6 urges mentioned by Sri Rupa Goswami is qualified to be called Goswami, Jagat Ishwar, or Vaishnav. Heno mate Haridasa bhasen Gaṅgā khane ke hoilo bahya Ishwar ichai. After Haridas floated in the Gaṅgā for some time, he regained his external consciousness by the will of the Lord. Chaitanya paiya Haridasa mahashay tire asi uthilen paranandamoy. He then came to the shore and got out of the water in great ecstasy. She mate ailen fulia nagare Krishna nama bolite bolite uchai sware. In this way he started for Pulia while loudly chanting the names of Krishna. Dekhiya arbhut shakti shakala javana sabar khandilo hingsa bhalo hoilo mana. Seeing the extraordinary potency of Haridas, the Muslims' minds changed and they forgot their envy. Pir jnana kori shabe koilo namaskar shakal javanagan pailo nistar. The Muslims considered Haridas a powerful saint, so they offered him obeisances. Thus, They were all delivered from material bondage. Gaudiya Bhashya. Those Muslims who considered Mahabhagavat Thakur Haridas as worshipable and offered him their humble obeisances were freed from material bondage. Koto khane bahya pailen Haridas, muluka patir chahi hoilo kripahas. Sometime after regaining his consciousness, Haridas met the king of Bengal and laughed mercifully. What verse are we reading up to? 158, okay. Sambrame mulukapati judi dui kara, bolite lagilo kichu binai uttara. With great awe and reverence, the king folded his hands and humbly said to Haridas, Satya Satya Janilaya Tumi Mahapir Ek Gyana Tomar Shehoyache Stir. Now I know for certain that you are a powerful saint, for you are firmly convinced that the Supreme Lord is one. Gaudiya Bhashya. The phrase Ekagyan means to perceive the presence of the Supreme Lord in every living entity. Or it means, Ekagyan also means to see the Lord's variegatedness. In other words, to realize the non-dual absolute truth. Yogi Jnana Jata Shab Mukhe Matra Bole Tumi She Paila Siddhi Mahakutuhale. All the so-called yogis and jnanis simply speak big words, but you have actually attained perfection. Gaudiya Bhashya. Ordinary pseudo-yogis and pseudo-jnanis speak of Advai Gyan, or transcendental knowledge beyond duality, simply to make a show of being liberal. But you, Haridas, you are actually a real perfected Mahapurush. You are a great personality. Tomare dekhite mui ailun ethare, shab dosha mahashai kami ba amare. O sir, I have personally come to meet you. Therefore, please forgive all my offenses. Shakala tomar shama shatru mitra nai, tomachine heno jana tribhuvane nai. You are equal to everyone, both friends and enemy. But there is no one in the three worlds who can understand you. Gaudiya Bhashya. On the strength of their mundane knowledge, the materialists cannot understand the position of a Mahabhagavat Paramahansa Vaishnava. Actually, no one is the friend or enemy of a Vaishnava. Oh, sorry, this is Śrīla Saraswati Ṭhākura. Actually, no one is the friend or enemy of a Vaishnava. Sorry. Let me reread that. On the strength of their mundane knowledge, the materialists cannot understand the position of a Mahabhagavat Paramahansa Vaishnava. Actually, no one is the friend or enemy of a Vaishnava. Because he considers everyone in the world as a Vaishnava, he is the friend of everyone. And being devoid of the conception of mundane enjoyment, he sees everyone, friends and enemies, equally. Chalo tumi shubha karo apana ichai, Gaṅgā tire thako giya nirjana gopai. You are free to go wherever you wish. You may go stay in a cave on the bank of the Gaṅgā, or wherever you desire. Gaudiya Bhashya. The word Gofai, derived from the Sanskrit word guha and the Hindi word gufa, means a vacant cave. The king said, O Haridas, you are now free from arrest. Therefore, by your own sweet will, you may go to a secluded cave on the bank of the Gaṅgā near Phulia and begin to worship your beloved Lord without disturbance. Though we are most abominable and sinful, please forgive all our unforgivable offenses and glance mercifully on us. Apana ichai tumi thako jatha tata, je tomar ichatae koroho sarvata. You may stay wherever you like and do whatever you please. Haridāsa sorry. Haridāsa Ṭhākurer charana dekhile, uttamer ki dai javana dekhi bhule. What to speak of the upper classes? On seeing the lotus feet of Haridāsa Ṭhākura, even the Muslims forgot themselves. Gaudiya Bhashya. The Muslims are generally devoid of devotional service to the Supreme Lord. If sense enjoyers, fruit of workers, and mental speculators, who are all relatively superior to the Muslims, realize the magnanimous, glorious lotus feet of Mahabhagavat Thakur Haridas, then they will permanently retire from engagement in their respective sense gratification. On seeing Haridas, even Muslims who were sinful and extremely averse to the Lord forgot their endeavors to oppose devotional service, which were induced by the urges of their senses. Eto krode anile kamari bar tore, pir jnana kori aro paye pache dhore. They had angrily taken him to be killed, but they ultimately accepted him as a powerful saint. Gaudiya Bhashya. Oh, how wonderful are the uncommon glories of the Mahabhagavat Paramahansa Vaishnav Thakurs! By seeing the extraordinary shining example of Thakur Haridasa's forgiveness and tolerance, that same king who was previously envious of the Thakur, who had angrily arrested him in order to severely punish him, who had hated Lord Vishnu and the Vaishnavas, and who was most sinful, that same king now accepts Haridāsa Ṭhākura as worshipable, uncommon, a great personality sent by God. Not only that, being purified by the fire of repentance, that most sinful, atheistic, offensive king begs forgiveness for all his offenses and was obliged to offer obeisances at Thakur's lotus feet. Javanera kripa drishti koriya prakash, puliyai aila Thakur Haridas. After glancing mercifully on the Muslims, Thakur Haridas entered Pulia. Ucha kori hari nama loite loite, ailen Haridasa brahmana sabhate, Haridase dekhi Puliyar vipragan, shabe hoila ati paranandaman, Haridwani vipragan lagila korite, Haridasa lagilen anande nachite. As he loudly chanted the names of Hari, he arrived before an assembly of Brahmanas. Seeing Haridas, the Brahmanas were filled with happiness. The Brahmanas then began to chant the names of Hari, and Haridas began to dance in ecstasy. Oops, I'm supposed to stop already. It's already 8:30. Okay. Anyways, we'll read from this point onwards tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Shishi. Oh, Kishore, would you like to do Jaidwani?
As you like.
Yes.
जय सुब्रकाश श्री श्री गुरु गौरंग गण हरिगा गिरि हरे रार विनोद बिहरे रार नायनाथ राध रमन बिहरे रार मारव श्री श्री राधा गोकुल नंद जीव की जय। जय श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जीव की जय। जय नित्य अलील प्रविष्णु विष्णु पार परमहंस सबरी ब्रजचार्य वर्या अष्टोत्तरष्ट शिष्यमान भक्ति विज्ञान भारती गोस्वामी हमार गुरु महाराज की जय। जय नित्य अलील प्रविष्टु विष्णु पार परमहंस सबरी ब्रजचार्य वर्या अष्टोत्तरष्ट शिष्यमान भक्ति वेदांत शिल नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज पति पावन शिल गुरुदेव की जय। जय नित्य अलील प्रविष्टु विष्णु पार स्तोत्रष्ट शिष्यमान भक्ति बल तीर्थ गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। जय नित्य अलील प्रविष्टु विष्णु पार स्तोत्रष्ट शिष्यमान भक्ति वेदांत शिल वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। जय नित्य अलील प्रविष्टु विष्णु पार स्तोत्रष्ट शिष्यमान भक्ति वेदांत शिल त्रिविक्रम गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। जय नित्य अलील प्रविष्टु विष्णु पार स्तोत्रष्ट शिष्यमान भक्ति श्री सिद्धांति गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। पतित पावन दयाल वैष्णव ठाकुर श्रीमान भक्ति श्री सिद्धांति गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। जय नित्य अलील प्रविष्टु विष्णु पार स्तोत्रष्ट शिष्यमान एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय नित्य अलील प्रविष्टु विष्णु पार स्तोत्रष्ट शिष्यमान भक्ति द्वैत मारु गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। जय नित्य अलील प्रविष्टु विष्णु पार स्तोत्रष्ट शिष्यमान भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज परम गुरुदेव चार्य केशरी की जय। जय नित्य अलील प्रविष्टु विष्णु पार स्तोत्रष्ट शिष्यमान जगर गुरु श्री वर्षबान विदय दास शिल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की जय। स्वापरिकाश शिल प्रभुपाद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी ठाकुर की जय। महापरम नित्य अलील प्रविष्टु विष्णु पार महापरम भगवत परवार परमहंस शिष्यमान गौर किशोर दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय। नित्य अलील प्रविष्टु विष्णुपाद सप्तम गोस्वामी अष्टोत्तरष्ट शिष्यमान सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर महाशय की जय। जय नित्य अलील प्रविष्टु विष्णुपाद वैष्णव सर्वोम अष्टोत्तरष्ट शिष्यमान जगन्नाथ बाबूजी महाराज की जय। सूर्य कुंदवासी सिद्ध शिल मधुसूदन दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय। श्री उद्धवदास उदरान दास की जय। गुरुविदान आचार्य शिशिल बलिदेव विभूषण प्रभु की जय। महामहोपरिध्याय शिरोमणि शिल विश्वनाथ चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर पार की जय। शिल ऋषिकानंद देव मुरारी गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। श्रील रामचंद्र कविराज की जय। श्री लोचन दास ठाकुर की जय। जय शिल नरोत्तम श्रीनिवास श्यामानंद प्रभु त्राय की जय। श्रील कृष्णदास कविराज गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। योसवतार अर्का विशल वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय। श्री अष्टकविराज सुरजान व नित्यानंद दुर्श गोपाल श्री चौषति महंत की जय। जय श्री रूप श्री सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ सर्गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर रमानंद श्री स्वरूप दामोदर रमानंद लोकनाथ गर्भ आदि गौर परिषद वृंद की जय। नमाचार्य शिल हरिदास ठाकुर महाशय की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। शिल ईश्वर परिपाद की जय। शिल मारविंद्र परिपाद की जय। श्री अंतरदीप मायापुर सिमनदीप गौतमदीप मध्यादीप गौलीदीप रेतुदीप चानुदीप मातृ द्रुमादीप रुद्रादीप मात्मका श्री नवदीप धाम की जय। श्री एक चक्र धाम की जय। श्री शांतिपुर धाम की जय। श्री फुलिया की जय। श्री गौरचंद्र भगवान की जय। हरिदास प्राण श्री सचिदानंद गौर हरि की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ गोपी गोपाल गो गिरि गोवर्धन द्वारशत बनान माक श्री ब्रज मंडल धाम की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड गंग सखी यमुना सखी तुलसी भक्ति देवी की जय। वृषभानुनंदिनी श्रीमती राधा रानी ठाकुरानी की जय। जय श्री ललिता विशाखा चित्र चंपकलता टुंग विद्या इंदुलिक रंगदेवी सुदेवी अरि सख्य वृंद की जय। श्री अनंग प्रेम मंजलालि श्री रूप लवंगा राग विलस गुण रति कस्तूरी हरि मंजारे वृंद की जय। श्री कमल मंजरी की जय। श्री नयन मणि मंजरी की जय। श्रीमती वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भगवती पूर्णमासी गुमाय देवी की जय। श्री गोपीश्वर श्री शिव महादेव की जय। श्री राधा परंकित धाम श्री वृंदावन की जय। जय श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा सुदर्शन चक्र नीलमार्ग जीव की जय। श्री जगन्नाथ पुरी पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र मंडल नीलाचल धाम की जय। Śrīla Haridāsa Ṭhākura Samari Mandir ki jai. Jai Sarva Vikana Minashan Kori Bhakta Vikana Minasha Sri Narsingh Dev ki jai. Bhaktaraj Bhakta Pravara Shri Paralad Maharaj ki jai. Shipalad Lakshmi Narsingh Dev ki jai. Shri Chari Ram Chari Sampradaya Chari Achari ki jai. Sri Madhva Ramanuja Vishnu Swami Nimbaditya Chari Achari ki jai. Akaramandara Shri Caitanya-bhāgavata ki jai. Sri Gauriya Mat Vrind ki jai. Grantara Shri Mad Bhagavatam Bhagavad Gita Chaitanya Charitamrita Chaitanya Bhagavat Jaiva Dharma Adi Sarva Gauriya Vaishnava Grantha Vrind ki jai. Namacharya Śrīla Haridāsa Ṭhākura ki jai. Shri Bhuvan Mangal Shri Harinam Prabhu ki jai. Shri Bhuvan Mangal Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yuga Dharma ki jai. Shri Bhuvan Mangal Dhanya Kali Uttar Brahma Shri Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Maha Mantra ki jai. Shri Anand Kuri Vaishnava Vrind ki jai. Shri Samarkata Gaura Bhakta Vrind ki jai. Śrī Caitanya-bhāgavata ki jai. Śrīla Vrindavan Das Ṭhākura ki jai. Śrīla Prabhupada Saraswati Ṭhākura ki jai. Śrīla Prabhupada Gori Vasya ki jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Leela Pravishta Vishnupar Astotrashta Shri Shrimad Bhakti Shri Rup Siddhanti Goswami Maharaj Pati Pavan Doyal Vaishnav Ṭhākura ki jai. Jai Śrīla Bhakti Shri Rup Siddhanti Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Sri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Vrindaya Tulsideva, Vrindaya Tulsideva, Kriya Keshavasacha, Krishna Bhakti Padadevi, Satyavataya Namo Namaha, Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, dear devotees. Hari Bol, everybody. Hare Krishna, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. This story always touches a chord in my heart, and it has, since I was a child, and even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur mentions the parallel to the saint like Jesus. He has to, the tolerance he was taken to, beaten, torture. In his case, he said no bones were broken, but so much pain was tried to be inflicted on him. And also in the Caitanya-bhāgavata, it reminds me the story that, and so many questions were raised, and why is that God doesn't intervene, to protect him and like that. And so do you remember there's 21 hours where Lord Chaitanya manifests his divinity, and each devotee came forward. And so he called Haridāsa Ṭhākura, and he said, I was there, I embraced you, and but he wouldn't let me do anything to them. He kept praying for their well-being, their welfare, and to be forgiven. And so then we see the two things. One is that how Krishna is controlled by his devotee, how kind and merciful devotees are and tolerant, the great saints, the pure devotees. And so Chaitanya showed him his back, and in his back was all the marks of the beatings. And we'll read that probably later on, I think, in this. And the unflinching faith in the pure devotee. When my god brothers and god sisters, we started, there were many challenges. They wanted us, many people, their reactions to the chanting of the holy name was severe. In Argentina, the Beatles would call it the Blue Meanies home, where the Blue Meanies, they call them. There was a movie called The Yellow Submarine,
the Blue Meanies.
And at the end of the movie, they're talking to each other. Where do we go next? They say, "Oh, Argentina." I said, "Are you kidding? That's the home of the Blue Meanies." And so, it was all kinds of reactions that were there. So when we went to the streets to chant, I was since I was kind of the first devotee of my sister there. The Swami was from another country, and So we always had to protect him so he didn't get arrested. Otherwise, we didn't have, he had the only Bhagavad Gita, and I was just starting to translate it, and it was a connection to our life, So I always will get arrested, over and over, and the merchants will get really upset because so many people will follow us. We start chanting at a corner, and then 100 people surround us, and then we were distributing leaflets. At that time, we had 2-page, thing. One article was "Who's crazy," and then was about, who are the devotees, and Krishna, the reservoir of pleasure. Patronius reminded me. So this kept on happening, and like that, and it was a great opportunity to preach to the chief of police in the stations. Different reaction. So some of them, once they put us in jail, they took all our beads. So it was fun. The Swami said, "No, don't worry." So we tore the rim of our dhotis and made knots, and we were able to chant our rounds. And then the police came and said, "If you don't stop chanting, we'll be throwing hot water on you." And we start chanting the Nishinga prayers. And you see their faces. Wow. Then they left. It was like something scared them, and they left. And then when they took me to the political jail, where many people were tortured and later on disappeared, 30,000 of them, it was like all this kind of civil war that happened. Just a little before that, I was taken to the same political prison, and it's 5 floors underground. And every day they questioned me. But the main thing was that, who do you think you are? Why is that you chanting? Or what is that, And why are you chanting this? I'm not telling you, but like anything about the insults and like that. And then they threatened me to throw me down the elevator shaft. And they said, "If you don't stop chanting." And so this is not that I'm anything, I'm insignificant, but just having the faith that Prabhupada instilled in us and all my God brothers and God sisters about the chanting of the holy name. And words were put in my mouth, everything they said, I was just like not afraid and saying why and where it's coming from. And this is the other thing the Muslims says, "Why are you chanting the Hindu God's name?" And they were saying, "Why are you chanting it?" The same thing they were telling us, me, yelling at me. And I said, "But there's only one God. All religions name in different ways, but there's only one God." So this story is just very wonderful. It brings me a lot of bliss and joy and good remembrances. And, brings Prabhupada like that. So sorry to take the time, but I just had to say something.
That was beautiful, Prabhu. That was really beautiful. Yeah, they see that.
One time, we were always in Sankirtan, and there's many churches there, so very old ones. And so I went inside and I said, "Oh, great! It's like Prabhupada said, God is everywhere, but it's also in His temples." And so I sat down to chant. I said, "I'll chant a couple of rounds or some rounds, So I'm sitting in there and chanting. All of a sudden, the man that who helped, we call him sacristan, or he's like sort of an assistant to the priest, and they take care of the priest, the clothing and like that, and they're like an assistant. And clean the place, whatever. But the church, he came walking fast and said, "You get out, you get out." It was like, I said, I'm just chanting the Lord's holy name. No, I didn't say anything. I realized there was nothing to say. So yeah, the reactions were many. But look at the power of Haridāsa Ṭhākura, that all the Muslims became, because of his tolerance, and he's being such a saint, the king, even all the Muslims, everybody that was opposed to devotional service, surrender, and he benefited. That's the wonder, the amazing qualities of the saints, of the Vaishnava saints. They always want the benefit for everybody. So Yeah, thank you for the reading. And I will say,
Yeah, and just what we read it a couple times. Even just by remembering Haridāsa Ṭhākura, then all of our sufferings will be dispelled, and like we'll always be blissful. So, what to speak of Haridāsa
yeah,
Ṭhākura not experiencing any distress or anything, and that's why.
right.
What is it? I love that verse. I always come back to this verse by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Tomar sebai dukkha hoy jato sheo to parama sukha. Any suffering experienced in your service is actually the greatest joy. It's the param sukh. So
Yeah,
that's
we gotta see it that way. And yesterday I just had an operation, so sorry I was a little I've been out of it. I thought to kind of take bed rest, but yesterday I wanted to say something, and I will say how you were talking about the name, how it's in every religion. So we went to Trini's nephew's bar mitzvah, which is like an initiation. Usually in the antiquity, meant that when you're 12, you received initiation into 13. You are allowed to then start reading higher scriptures, deeper scriptures. That's what. So anyhow, while he was talking to the rabbi, we were in the temple. I sat, and there was a prayer books or something, which they had Torah passages from the Torah, but it was something like, Paramatma, because I opened the book and I look and I read, there's a verse, it says, chant the name of God and teach it to your son. Chant the name of God and teach it to your son.
wow.
Isn't it?
Amazing.
Yeah. And then I heard you were saying how Chitananda was saying about this devotee that we all knew that, and he said that he got slapped by a rabbi by pronouncing the name.
Okay.
So that sometimes the interpretation is, the Jews say that you cannot chant the name of it, it's forbidden. But Chaitanya was saying, no, you probably mispronounced it, so he thinks that's offensive. So, because it's right there in the book, the Torah is right there. Chant the name of God and teach it to your child.
Very nice. Jai Śrīla Haridāsa Ṭhākura ki
Jai,
jai.
Prabhupada ki jai. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Gaudiya ki jai.
Remember my father?
Jai.
My father thought that when I became a devotee, it was a new kind of hippie thing. And so he didn't talk to me for years. And then we came to visit my hometown. It was Rath Yatra. And he liked Nuri Hari so much. He, instead of saying, well, I'm never going to one of your programs, he just said, oh, we don't feel well enough. So why don't you sing the songs for us? At the home, we can't go to the program. So we sang, chanting the names. And he goes, that's what I believe in. Jewish. And my mother had cancer, and she was sick for 5 years. And he said he used to go to the temple, the synagogue, the temple, and just chant the name of God, Adonai. So that's
That's really nice. Jai Shri Harinam ki jai. That's really nice. All right, so it is getting close to 9 o'clock, and so I think this is a good time to end. And that was a really beautiful, beautiful stories. And look forward to seeing you all tomorrow for more glorification of more stories with Śrīla Haridāsa Ṭhākura.
Jai, Haribo, yes. Haridāsa
So
Ṭhākura.
I think we have a few more days of reading about Haridāsa Ṭhākura. So yeah.
Oh,
It's a very
wonderful.
long chapter. I think this is the second to the last chapter of the Ādi-khaṇḍa. So we're getting close to the end. All right. Jai Shri Radhe. Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Radhe, Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Gurudev.
Hare Shri Gurudev